Chidi, what are you making of the negative start to the month so far?
Thanks, Samantha. Like you said, we saw the market close in the red yesterday. This is the second day now running, given the last 1 week's uptick that it had. What we saw in the last couple of weeks was really some sort of allure of the corporate earnings, the double-digit growth numbers that we've been seeing from the announcements of some of the companies listed on the exchange. In the banking sector, like you said, there's been there's been some impressive results, starting from First Bank's release of its results on the 14th, and we see that even we see that the sector in the last couple of weeks was up as well. We also see in the, like you mentioned, the building sector also saw a decline despite results from, for example, Dangote Cement, which we see posted double-digit growth numbers year on year.
Chidi, what was it about those results that weighed on investors? Because that stock slipping back by 4.6% yesterday and overall taking the building materials sector into negative territory.
Sure. What we'll say, what we can see really is that, for example, in Dangote Cement, we always state, Dangote Cement consists of about 23 to 24% of the market capitalization, and it pulls the market along with it, usually in whichever direction it goes. We saw the stock drop in yesterday's trading by about 4 or so percent, and also we saw the other building sector companies, WAPCO, Ashaka Cement, pull down, go negative as well. For Dangote, we think that the group entity consisting of Dangote Cement, Dangote Flour, Dangote Sugar, we had Dangote Sugar announce results which were very disappointing, to say the least. It had a growth negative 49% on his bottom line. We see the cost of doing business and the cost of sales really of the company as the reason really for the decline. We think that some of that sentiment around the Dangote group may have played its way on Dangote Cement's stock, because if you look at the numbers, they are quite impressive. They are better than they've had in the last quarter, and of course better year on year.
Yeah.
And we think that with the proposed expansion and the increase in its metric tonnage, we see prospects and we see value in the stock. As we go into the year end, we think the stock will pick up a bit.
Yeah.
But then again, investor sentiment again will determine.
Let's just look at the food and beverages sector, because that sector disappointing with the results coming through, generally flat, and as you say, Dangote Sugar rather, profit after tax falling by almost 50%. How do you play the sector? Do you buy into the fact that demand is not going to go away, so these stocks ultimately are going to be ones to buy into, or is it in the short term the margin pressure and the cost pressures reason to stay away from buying into the sector?
Well, in the short term, I would say that the cost of doing business, the operating environment is a bit challenging. If you look at most of the manufacturing entities, their top line and their gross profits have been impacted by the environment. In the long term, what we see, or in the medium term to long term, what we see is that most of these companies have value. They may be a bit challenged by the economic conditions of the country at the moment. But if you're a short-term trader, you want to stay away. But if you're in the medium to long term, I think most of these companies retain their value and will still give it a buy over that period of time.
What about the conglomerate sector? Because also some strong results coming through from UAC and Nigeria. Top line growth of 20% for the quarter three. Profit before tax up almost 10%. Margins also under pressure there. Costs also a problem. But pretty strong growth if you look at those figures as the most diversified conglomerate. Some are saying it is one to add to the portfolio.
Indeed. USAN is a household name in terms of the products it delivers to the market. They've been around for years. They're one of the leading corporates in that sector. But like I said, there are strong challenges from the economic conditions, and cost of doing business has. Inflation figures have been, as you know, have been challenging in the country. So this is somehow impacting on companies across the different sectors. We think that some of the manufacturing companies in this, the conglomerates, like you mentioned, those with the economies of scale will be those who would have the capacity to withstand some of these short-term challenges. In the long run, definitely USAN has been around for a while, and I think it will be for me a buy over that period of time as well.
Very quickly, Oando down some almost 50% for the year, 1.37 kobo. Really strong numbers coming through from there as well. It's such a diversified oil company, and yet the stock is still so much under pressure. Would you be buying it at 1.37?
Sorry, I didn't get that. Which company is that? Sorry.
Oando.
Oh yeah, Oando. Okay, well, we see Oando recently, released its results last week. We see the numbers again as very strong. There's been a top line growth of about 41% and a bottom line of about 34%. We see the company aggressively as one of the more aggressive companies on the exchange. If you look at the numbers, you see a lot of top line growth, even though that doesn't translate effectively in the gross profits area. However, we see that the company is managing. It has projected to have about 14 billion net profit at the end of the year, and we also see that its activities in the upstream sector it's proposing an acquisition in the Canadian of a Canadian entity, which we think would also add to its portfolio of revenue. We also see that in the midstream sector, the gas conversion and pipeline activities of the company have aggressively grown. It's basically active in Lagos market, in the southern part of the country, and also is also proposing to have a line also on the Lagos western region. Yep. Downstream as well, we also see that it's a leading entity in the downstream sector as well.
I'm going to have to interrupt you there. Sorry, we've run out of time, but of course you're just going through growth prospects for Oando and those looking strong. Chidi Wigwe, Associate Investment Banking Analyst from Diamond Bank.